Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
So, what if I told you the absolute cheapest and honestly, arguably the most authentic city in Thailand is currently being actively ruined by people who only spend like 6 hours there?
Yeah. I mean, it is the ultimate paradox of modern travel, right? You have
Yeah.
these people flying literally thousands of miles across the globe, explicitly searching for something real,
Right.
and then they completely bypass the reality of a destination because, well, they're in a rush to just take a photo of it and leave.
It's crazy. And that's exactly our mission today. We are unpacking this massive, highly detailed, data-crunching travel briefing on Chiang Rai, Thailand.
Right.
We're armed with a huge stack of hard data from 2026, and we're going to look at the completely unvarnished ground-level reality of this city. And if you are listening to this, I'm willing to bet you have some level of travel fatigue.
Oh, absolutely.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. You spend all your savings to go on vacation, only to find yourself sweating in a massive crowd, paying inflated prices for something that just feels totally manufactured.
Yeah, a total tourist trap.
Exactly. So today, we're tearing down the marketing brochures. We're going to look at everything from the unhyped truth about the Golden Triangle to the sunk cost of local noodles to three specific logistical traps that catch almost every single first-time visitor.
And we're focusing on Chiang Rai precisely because it sits in this really precarious position right now. It's a city that exists almost entirely in the shadow of its massive, famous neighbor to the south, Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
So the data we are looking at today, it's a granular, microscopic view of how a destination functions economically and culturally right before that wave of mass industrialized tourism fundamentally alters its DNA.
Okay, so let's start with the central contrarian claim our source material makes right out of the gate. The data states that Chiang Rai is Thailand's most underpriced city. It averages about $25 a day for a traveler.
Right.
I mean, that is cheaper than Bangkok, cheaper than Chiang Mai, cheaper even than places like Kanchanaburi.
Huh.
But the brief insists that the vast majority of people visiting are doing it completely wrong.
Yeah. They are participating in what we can call checklist tourism. The standard playbook, if you look at the numbers, is that a tourist bases themselves in Chiang Mai. They then book a guided day tour, which usually costs anywhere between $47 and $72.
Oh, boy.
And that tour just throws them into a commercial van at dawn. That van drives 3 hours north, rushes them through the White Temple, then the Blue Temple, maybe crams in a superficial boat cruise, and then drives them 3 hours all the way back to Chiang Mai in the dark.
I don't understand the psychology there. You are paying $70 to sit in a van for 6 hours just to look at a monument through the window of a crowded schedule.
Yeah.
It's like going to Paris, refusing to leave the airport transfer bus and claiming you experienced French culture because you saw the Eiffel Tower from the highway.
Yeah.
I mean, if the data explicitly shows this is the cheapest overnight destination in the country, why are people treating it like a drive-through window?
Well, it's because the global travel industry has not marketed Chiang Rai as a living, breathing city. They have marketed it purely as a collection of 2 or 3 highly photogenic backdrops.
Interesting.
When people plan a trip to Southeast Asia, they often feel this immense psychological pressure to maximize the sheer volume of famous sites they consume. They want the photo to prove they were there, so they optimize for convenience.
They just want to check the box.
Exactly. They think, I can pay $60, check off the famous White Temple, and safely return to my comfortable, familiar hotel in Chiang Mai without having to figure out new logistics. They trade genuine immersion for the illusion of efficiency.
And the economic value they're leaving on the table is just staggering. Because while they are trapped in that van, the actual city of Chiang Rai is sitting right there.
Yep.
It's a city of about 75,000 people. It sits at a relatively cool 1,300 feet of altitude.
Mm-hmm.
It has a completely walkable old center that you can cross on foot in 20 minutes. And the overnight prices are wild.
They really are.
We're talking hostel beds for $11, private guest house rooms for $20 a night, bowls of incredible local noodles for $3.
But the briefing highlights a specific data point here that suggests this window of extreme affordability might be closing. In January 2026, the entry fee for the White Temple, which is, the absolute flagship attraction of the region, it doubled.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it went from about $3.15 to $6.30 overnight.
Okay, I have to stop you there because $6.30 is still incredibly cheap by global standards.
Oh, for sure.
You can barely buy a latte in London or New York for that. Why does the briefing treat a $3 price hike as a massive red flag?
Because it's not about the absolute dollar amount, right? It's about what that 100% price hike signals to the broader market. In travel economics, when the primary cultural site of a region doubles its fee, it acts as a bellwether.
Okay.
It indicates a fundamental shift in the destination's pricing floor.
Meaning the local authorities realize what they actually have.
Exactly. They are recognizing that demand is inelastic enough that they can double the price, and the tour buses will still show up. It is the very first tremor of a destination being discovered and subsequently monetized by a higher spending market.
Oh, wow.
It tells us that this current reality, the $20 private rooms and the $25 average daily budget, is a temporary anomaly. The market is correcting itself.
So the clock is really ticking. Which brings up the most practical question. If doing a chaotic day trip is a mistake and prices are slowly going to creep up, when is the actual optimal time to go and stay? Because looking at the weather data in this briefing, the timing seems incredibly counterintuitive.
Well, in a region governed by severe tropical weather patterns, timing doesn't just dictate your comfort, it dictates your entire economic reality. The briefing breaks the year down into 3 distinct seasons, and the experiential differences are vast.
Let's start with high season, which is November through February. The physical conditions sound perfect. It's a cool 50 degrees Fahrenheit at night, warming up to a very dry, comfortable 80 degrees during the day.
Beautiful weather.
Right. And even during this peak time, private guest houses are only maxing out at $35 to $50 a night. But our source material throws a massive warning flag on this specific window.
Yeah, the warning is all about crowd logistics. Because the weather is objectively perfect, this is the exact window when that flood of day trippers from Chiang Mai reaches its absolute peak. The data is highly specific here. Every single day, between 9 in the morning and 1 p.m., the White Temple is completely inundated with commercial tour buses.
So if you show up at 10:30, you aren't having a serene cultural experience. You are in a crowd control nightmare.
You are shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people who are all on a very tight schedule. However, the distinct advantage of staying overnight in Chiang Rai, which we've established is the superior play, is that you simply bypass this entire supply chain of mass tourism.
Because you're already there.
Exactly. You wake up in your $30 guest house, you take a 10-minute ride, and you arrive at the temple right when the gates open at 8 a.m.
Well, the tour buses are still gridlocked in traffic 3 hours away.
Yeah.
I love that. You leverage your physical proximity to buy yourself an empty temple.
That's the play.
But then the data moves to the shoulder season, which is March through May. And this is where I really need you to explain something, because the temperatures push 100 degrees Fahrenheit in April. But more alarmingly, the briefing explicitly warns people to stay away because of something called smoke season.
Right.
It says if you are asthmatic, do not go. But I see travel influencers posting about springtime in northern Thailand all the time. Are they just lying?
Honestly, they are heavily filtering reality, often because their content is tied to promotional boards that want to align with Western spring break schedules. This is where unbiased travel intelligence is vital. What travel marketing conveniently omits is the agricultural reality of the region. Throughout the spring, farmers in the surrounding hills of Thailand, as well as across the borders in Laos and Myanmar, engage in slash-and-burn agriculture.
How?
They burn the remnants of their sugarcane and corn crops to clear the fields for the incoming monsoon planting season.
And because Chiang Rai sits in a valley at 1,300 feet, what happens? The smoke just settles.
It doesn't just settle, it gets violently trapped by the surrounding topography and atmospheric inversions.
Yeah.
We aren't talking about a quaint, hazy afternoon here. We are talking about severe, documented respiratory hazards.
Wow.
The air quality index frequently hits hazardous levels. Visibility drops so low that flights can be delayed. The fact that our briefing explicitly warns against this window, prioritizing the traveler's lung health over presenting a perfect postcard image, is incredibly valuable.
So spring is literally a smokescreen, which leads the monsoon season from June to October. And this is the part I find hardest to swallow. The source calls this the hidden value window.
It is.
You want me to tell our listeners to book a vacation during a monsoon? How is sitting in a hotel room while it pours rain a good use of anyone's time?
It requires a shift in how you view tropical rain. It is rarely a continuous freezing drizzle like you might experience in London or Seattle. It is usually a spectacular warm deluge for 2 hours in the afternoon, followed by clear skies.
Oh, I love it.
But the macroeconomic effect of the word monsoon is fascinating. The broader global tourism market is terrified of rain, so demand absolutely plummets.
But the hotels and restaurants are still sitting there. The supply is fixed.
Precisely. And to capture whatever sparse demand exists, the local tourism infrastructure drops its prices to the absolute floor. That $35 private room we talked about in high season, it drops to $15 or $20.
That's wild.
A bed in a premium hostel drops to $8. And visually, the landscape transforms. The dry brown hills turn into these incredibly lush, vibrant green rice terraces.
So it's a contrarian play. You trade guaranteed blue skies for a rain jacket and an umbrella. In return, your purchasing power effectively doubles, and you have the entire region to yourself.
Exactly.
And the briefing also notes that within any season, the specific days of the week matter immensely. If your goal is to experience the massive night bazaar, you have to be there on the weekend. But if you want total isolation at the temples and the absolute lowest rates on beds, you aim for a Tuesday through Thursday itinerary.
You are constantly looking for those friction points in the schedule where demand is at its lowest, but the infrastructure is still fully operational.
Okay, so let's say you've picked your season. You avoided the smoke,
Yeah.
packed your rain jacket, and you were flying in. I want to talk about the moment your boots actually hit the ground, because the data outlines the arrival logistics at Mafal Luang Chiang Rai International Airport, and it paints a picture that is almost jarring for anyone used to modern travel.
The arrival experience in Chiang Rai is an immediate forced deceleration.
Yeah, the airport is about 5 miles north of the city center. The briefing describes it as completely stress-free. There is no aggressive scrum of taxi drivers pulling at your bags, which is almost unheard of in Southeast Asia.
It's very rare.
The costs are trivial. A metered taxi is $4 to $6. You can negotiate a tuk-tuk for about $5, or you can jump in a shared red truck. They call it a songthaw for $1 or $2. But here's the thing that stopped me in my tracks. There is no airport bus route.
Right.
How does an international airport servicing a city of 75,000 people not have a public bus?
Because the existence of an airport bus implies a certain volume and velocity of human movement. An airport bus represents mass transit, rapid processing, moving 50 people at a time into a dense urban grid. Chiang Rai doesn't have the volume to support that, nor does it have the infrastructure to absorb it.
That makes sense.
The absence of a bus forces you, the moment you land, to engage on a localized, human level. You can't just swipe a transit card and put your headphones on. You have to walk outside, find a songthaw driver, negotiate a $2 fare, and ride into town with the open air hitting your face.
It strips away that layer of generic air-conditioned infrastructure that makes every airport in the world feel exactly the same. You know immediately that you are somewhere specific.
Exactly.
And the briefing follows this up by detailing the sensory profile of the city center itself. It describes a sleepy provincial capital. No dramatic skyline, no elevated sky train roaring overhead. The centerpiece of the entire downtown is literally just a clock tower sitting in a roundabout.
Designed by the same artist who built the White Temple, actually.
Right, and it puts on a little light show at 7, 8, and 9 p.m. But the most interesting detail to me was the soundscape.
The auditory data is remarkably revealing. The brief notes birdsong in the mornings, the smell of wood smoke from street food kitchens, the scent of lemongrass, and crucially a distinct lack of heavy motorbike noise.
Which, if you've ever been to Bangkok or Hanoi or even Chiang Mai, sounds impossible. Motorbikes are the lifeblood of those cities. They are a constant, high-decibel hum. How is Chiang Rai so quiet?
Well, motorbike noise in a Southeast Asian urban environment is typically a byproduct of frantic commercial activity. It's the sound of a massive gig economy, endless food deliveries, and a high-density population rushing to work.
Yeah.
The lack of that noise in Chiang Rai points to an economic engine that runs at a fundamentally lower RPM. It's a city where the local economy isn't entirely tethered to hyper-fast consumerism. It is comfortable being a slower, supporting player in the region.
So the vibe is intensely relaxed. Let's talk about where you are actually sleeping in this relaxed city, because the accommodation data provides the clearest argument for why this place is so underpriced.
The value proposition across all accommodation peers here is extraordinary, largely because the local market hasn't decoupled from local economic realities.
Let's break that down tier by tier, starting at the budget level. The briefing specifically names places like the Bear House Hostel. You are paying between $8 and $14 for a bed in an 8-bed dorm, usually settling around $10 to $12.
Yep.
But the source explicitly points out that you aren't roughing it. This isn't a dusty cot with a fan. Air conditioning and hot water are standard baseline features.
Which is a critical distinction. In many global budget markets, a $10 bed implies severe compromises in hygiene or climate control. In Chiang Rai, $10 secures modern comfort.
But the mid-range tier is where the numbers start to just melt my brain. Places like the Wiang. The data says you get a private room, aggressive air conditioning, breakfast included, and English-speaking staff for between $20 and $45.
It's incredible.
The sweet spot in high season is $25 to $35. I really need you to explain this to me. How can a business operate a physical building, pay staff, provide climate control, and cook breakfast for 2 people for $25 a night and still turn a profit? In my city, $25 barely covers a couple of cocktails.
It comes down to the source of the capital and the anchoring of the local economy. In highly developed tourist hubs, think of Tulum in Mexico, or parts of Bali foreign investment sweeps in. They build a hotel to a Western standard, and then they charge a Western price, say $150 a night.
Right.
The local wages remain low, but the real estate and consumer prices become completely detached from the local economy. They price it exclusively for the tourist's wallet.
Right. The locals just get priced out of their own town.
Exactly. But in Chiang Rai, the mid-range hotel market is largely owned and operated domestically, and it is still anchored to the regional economic reality. The cost of land, the cost of construction materials, and the local labor rates are all proportionate.
So it's balanced.
Yes. So when you pay $25 or $35, that is actually a fair, profitable margin for the hotel owner within the context of northern Thailand. You, as the traveler, are experiencing the purchasing power of a developing economy in a way that hasn't been artificially inflated by outside corporate extraction.
You are paying a fair local price rather than a gouged tourist price.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, and it scales up perfectly. The mid-range plus tier, properties like La Luna Hotel or Bon Waros, they offer large pools and heavy design elements for $50 to $90.
Yeah.
The brief notes this is consistently 30 to 40% cheaper than the exact same standard just a few hours south in Chiang Mai. Even the luxury tier reflects this.
The luxury data is fascinating. Le Méridien, which offers high-end river views, runs $120 to $180. And the absolute peak of the market, the Anantara Golden Triangle, which sits literally on the border of 3 countries and features an elephant camp, runs $320 to $400 a night.
Which, yes, is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But when you compare it to a luxury resort in Phuket, where they will happily charge you $800 a night just for the privilege of looking at a beach crowded with jet skis, the Anantara seems completely reasonable.
Absolutely.
You are paying a premium for a singular, world-class geographical location, not just paying an inflated baseline rate. Okay, so we've established that putting a roof over your head is shockingly affordable. Now you need to eat. And the data on food and groceries is where we get to the absolute core of the local economy.
Food pricing is arguably the most transparent metric we have for understanding how a destination truly functions.
The culinary heart of this region is khao soi. It's this incredibly rich, complex, coconut curry northern Thai noodle soup, usually served with chicken and topped with crispy miggles. And the briefing gives a very specific, almost philosophical instruction here.
Oh, the currency shift.
Yes. It says this is the moment you must stop thinking in your home currency and start thinking in Thai baht. A bowl of khao soi at a local street restaurant costs 50 to 80 Thai baht. That translates to about $1.50 to $2.50 USD. Why does the briefing insist on this mental shift? Why does sitting on a plastic stool paying 50 baht feel like the most honest transaction in the city?
Because that 50 baht price tag is the absolute ceiling for the local working class. The briefing notes that this specific price point has barely moved in 5 years. What we are seeing here is the economic concept of wage anchoring.
Wage anchoring.
Right. The street food vendor isn't catering to the tourist. Their primary customer base is the local mechanic, the school teacher, the shop owner. The vendor cannot arbitrarily raise the price of noodles by 30% just because it happens to be tourist high season, because the local mechanic's wages haven't increased by 30%.
That makes total sense.
The price of the food is inextricably anchored to the genuine, everyday wages of the city's inhabitants.
So when I sit down at that stall, I am temporarily stepping out of the manufactured tourist economy and participating in the real, stabilized local economy.
Correct. You aren't paying a tourist tax. You are paying the honest, uninflated cost of the raw ingredients and the vendor's labor.
And the rest of the local food data backs this up. A plate of pad thai or a green curry is $3 to $5. If you want a sit-down mid-range dinner for 2 people, including big bottles of local Chang beer, the total bill is $12 to $18.
Yeah.
Night bazaar snacks like grilled meats, sticky rice, they're $1 or $2. But then the briefing pivots to grocery store data, and we see a totally different, almost punishing economic force at play.
We transition from wage anchoring to the logistical cost of the expat tax.
Yes. The brief analyzes prices at a local supermarket called Rimping, which it compares to a Waitrose or a Whole Foods. Local staples are incredibly cheap. A half dozen local eggs is 80 cents. A block of local rice is 60 cents. A massive 640-milliliter bottle of local Lea beer is $1.20.
You're cheap.
But then, it lists an imported yogurt at $1.80. A carton of orange juice is $1.50. Just want to pause on that. You can literally walk down the street and have a vendor cook you an entire complex bowl of khao soy noodles from scratch for $1.50. But a single cup of imported yogurt at the grocery store costs $1.80. How is that possible?
It perfectly illustrates the hidden costs of clinging to Western consumption habits in a developing tropical economy. Think about the supply chain required for that yogurt.
Okay.
It requires dairy farming, which isn't traditional to the region. It requires an unbroken, energy-intensive cold chain spanning thousands of miles, imported on aircraft or refrigerated cargo ships, then trucked to northern Thailand.
That's a lot of infrastructure for yogurt.
Exactly. When you demand goods from entirely outside the local agricultural ecosystem, you pay a massive logistical premium. The traveler who adapts their palate to the local ecosystem, who eats the 50 bat noodles and the local fruit, thrives economically. The traveler who insists on their specific brand of imported yogurt or foreign cheese will find their budget evaporating incredibly fast.
It's a tax on inflexibility. Which brings us perfectly to the actual daily budgets. We have the exact prices for beds, for noodles, for transport. Now, the brief zooms out to build the daily out-of-pocket reality for 5 specific travel demographics.
This part is really illuminating.
I want to dig into these because they tell completely different stories about what this city offers. Let's start with the backpacker.
For the backpacker, Chiang Rai might be the highest quality of life per dollar currently available anywhere in Southeast Asia.
The brief puts the total daily cost at $22 to $30 a day. It breaks it down. A $10 dorm bed, $7 total for 3 street food meals, $9 to rent a motorbike for the day, the $6.30 White Temple entry fee, and a couple of bucks for bottled water.
Yeah.
And it specifically notes, this isn't a miserable, penny-pinching existence. You are eating incredibly well and moving freely. If you have a day where you don't visit a ticketed temple, your daily spend drops below $20.
The autonomy that $20 affords a young traveler is remarkable. It allows for extended, slow travel without the constant anxiety of running out of funds.
Then we have the mid-range traveler. The estimate here is $55 to $75 a day per person. That factors in splitting a $30 private room, spending $20 to $25 on sit-down restaurant meals instead of street stalls, dropping $30 on a half-day tour, and using local taxis. Again, phenomenal value. But the demographic that fascinated me the most was the family budget. 2 adults, 2 kids. The briefing claims you could do this for $120 to $170 a day total for all 4 people.
All in.
That covers 2 adjoining mid-range rooms, all meals, a guided day tour, and transport. And the data claims this fundamentally alters the psychology of a family vacation. I mean, I have kids, and I can tell you, family travel is mostly just doing mental math so you don't go broke. How does this budget change that?
It shifts a family from what we can call defensive budgeting to offensive budgeting. Let's say a middle-class family has a hard ceiling of $200 a day for their vacation expenses. If they go to a highly commercialized, hyperinflated destination like Phuket or Koh Samui, that $200 forces them into a defensive posture.
They're just protecting their wallet.
Right. They have to book the smallest room furthest from the beach. They have to strictly avoid the hotel restaurants. Every time a kid asks for an ice cream or wants to go on a boat ride, the parents have to calculate if they can afford it. It creates a baseline of friction and stress.
Right. You spend the whole trip basically saying no.
Exactly. But in Chiang Rai, that exact same budget flips the dynamic entirely. Because the baseline costs are so low, a $170 daily spend is incredibly offensive. The family can comfortably book 2 spacious rooms. They can easily afford to hire a private guide for the Golden Triangle.
That sounds amazing.
When they go to the night bazaar, the parents can just hand the kids some baht and tell them to buy whatever snacks they want. The friction of constant financial compromise is completely removed. The destination allows the parents to be generous and relaxed rather than anxious gatekeepers of the wallet.
That is a massive psychological win. You aren't just saving money, you're buying peace of mind. But then the data pivots to the digital nomad, and this one comes with a very stark warning.
Yeah, this is important.
The monthly cost looks unbelievable. $900 to $1,300 a month. That covers a private room, food, SIM cards, transport, everything. By comparison, Chiang Mai is pushing $1,100 to $1,600. But the data explicitly warns of a thin cafe infrastructure and a total lack of a co-working network effect. If I can live comfortably for $900 a month, why wouldn't I just move there and work remotely? Why does the brief frame this as a potential trap?
Because it fundamentally misunderstands what a digital nomad is actually paying for in a hub like Chiang Mai or Lisbon. Yes, remote workers want cheap rent, but they are also deeply reliant on the network effect.
The community.
Right. In Chiang Mai, thousands of entrepreneurs, coders, and creatives share a dense infrastructure of co-working spaces. They share ideas, they hire each other, they form social circles. Chiang Rai simply does not possess that critical mass.
So if you show up expecting to network and build your startup over matcha lattes,
You will be profoundly, crushingly isolated. There are cafes, yes, but there isn't a community of peers. However, the brief notes that if your intention aligns with the environment, it's perfect.
okay, like how?
If you are an author who needs 30 days of complete silence to finish a manuscript, or a coder who needs to build an application without the distraction of networking events, then that isolation becomes a feature, not a bug. It is a world-class, short-term retreat for deep work, but a very poor long-term base for a social remote worker.
It's all about managing your own expectations. Now, speaking of traps, we need to transition into the logistics because we have mapped out these beautiful, hyper-efficient budgets. But the briefing details 3 major logistics traps that will absolutely shred those budgets and potentially ruin your trip if you fall into them.
And what unites these 3 traps is that they all prey on travelers trying to take shortcuts or making assumptions based on how infrastructure works in their home countries.
Let's hit trap 1, the day trip trap. We touched on this in the introduction, but the mechanism is so insidious we really need to break it down. Tour operators in Chiang Mai aggressively market this package for $47 to $72.
Yeah.
You leave at 6 a.m., they promise you'll see the White Temple, the Blue Temple, the Black House, maybe take a boat ride, and they have you back by 8 p.m. They sell it as the complete experience. But the reality is just a brutal marathon of transit.
You are spending a minimum of 3 hours each way in a cramped van, but the real penalty is the loss of autonomy. You have zero control over the schedule.
Which means what exactly?
This means the tour operator deposits you at the White Temple at the exact same moment every other tour operator deposits their clients during that dreaded 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. window. You miss the early morning tranquility, you completely miss the evening night bazaar, and you never experience the slow pace of the city itself.
So what is the exact fix? How do you do it correctly?
The fix is wonderfully simple and actually saves you money. You completely ignore the tour packages, you walk into the Chiang Mai bus terminal, and book a standard inner-city bus ticket to Chiang Rai. It costs between $12 and $20 depending on the class of seat.
Okay, that's easy.
Then you book a local guest house for 2 nights for $30 a night. By taking control of your own transit, you reclaim your time. You visit the temples at 8 a.m. in total peace, and you let the city reveal itself at its natural rhythm.
Trap 1 is about reclaiming your time. Trap 2 is about preserving your physical safety. The brief calls it scooter overconfidence.
Oh, this one is huge.
The setup seems perfectly logical. The main sites in Chiang Rai, like the Golden Triangle, are spread out over a 20 to 30-mile radius, and public transit between them is very thin. A daily scooter rental is incredibly cheap, only $8 to $9 a day. To a tourist, it looks like the ultimate cheap solution for freedom.
Right.
But I have to push back here. I've ridden a bicycle my whole life. I drive a car every day. How hard can it possibly be to ride a little 125cc scooter out to a temple?
That exact line of thinking is what fills the emergency rooms in northern Thailand. This is a classic behavioral economics problem where the upfront savings completely blind the consumer to the massive tail risk.
Wow.
An $8 scooter feels like freedom, but the physical reality of Southeast Asian highway driving requires a specific, highly attuned set of reflexes that a casual driver from North America or Europe simply does not possess.
The brief specifically calls out Highway 110, the main artery out to the Golden Triangle.
Yes. Highway 110 is not a quiet country lane. It is a major, busy, two-lane commercial artery. You are dealing with heavy, high-speed freight trucks. The shoulders are often littered with loose gravel. In the rainy season, you are navigating steep, wet descents on tarmac that gets incredibly slick. And the unspoken rules of the road, specifically the hierarchy where smaller vehicles must unconditionally yield to larger vehicles, are completely foreign to a Western driver.
So you're mixing massive commercial trucks with tourists wearing flip-flops and tank tops who are constantly looking down at Google Maps on their phones.
It is a recipe for catastrophic failure, and the data backs this up, citing multiple tourist scooter accidents on these specific routes in 2025 and 2026.
Terrible.
And beyond the physical trauma, there is a financial penalty. The brief notes that these accidents routinely lead to local hospital bills of $800 to $2,000 just to set a fractured collarbone or treat severe road rash.
So you try to save $15 on transit and end up losing $2,000 and your vacation.
Basically.
The fix here is absolute humility. Unless you are a highly experienced, licensed motorcycle rider who is specifically accustomed to Asian traffic flows, do not rent the scooter. Instead, you rent a private driver for the day.
Yes.
The brief says this costs $25 to $30. If you split that with a partner, for $15 you get air conditioning, you get a local who knows the roads, and you don't end up on a stretcher.
Which brings us to trap 3. This one is purely financial, but it is a mathematical paper cut that catches almost everyone who tries to be responsible with their money.
The ATM and currency trap. I want to zero in on the math here because it is infuriating. The mechanism is that the Thai banking system charges a flat fee of $220 a thick, which currently translates to about $6.85 USD on every single ATM withdrawal made with a foreign bank card.
Every single one.
And our source notes a very specific psychological trap travelers fall into. People are naturally cautious, right? They don't want to carry massive wads of cash in foreign country, so they pull out small amounts. Say you take out $50, the machine hits you with a $6.85 fee. You do that 4 times in a week.
You have just paid $27.40 in banking fees to access $200. You are bleeding out a 14% surcharge on your own money simply by trying to be cautious. It is a punitive tax on financial responsibility.
That is just structural robbery. Why is it so high? And why can't I just use Apple Pay or a credit card like I do in London or New York?
Because of the realities of the local economy we discussed earlier, unlike Bangkok, or even the highly gentrified parts of Chiang Mai where digital payments are ubiquitous, Chiang Rai operates heavily on physical cash.
Ah, okay.
The woman selling you the 50-baht khao soi does not have a credit card terminal. The driver of the red Songta does not take Apple Pay. The night bazaar vendors operate entirely in coins and small notes. You simply cannot survive or function in this city without physical Thai baht in your pocket.
So you are basically trapped. You need cash to live, but accessing the cash triggers an exorbitant fee. How do you beat the math?
Through absolute discipline and forethought, the briefing advises a 2-step fix. First, you must travel with a fee-free international debit card platforms like Wise, Revolut, or a Charles Schwab account that refunds ATM fees.
That's smart.
Second, and most importantly, when you do go to the machine, you must pull out the absolute maximum amount allowed in a single transaction. In Thailand, this is usually around 20,000 to 30,000 baht, roughly equivalent to 200 to 250 US dollars.
You swallow the $6.85 fee exactly once, you secure a thick stack of cash, and you lock the majority of it in your hotel safe, only carrying what you need each day.
Exactly.
Mastering that one single logistical hurdle protects the integrity of your entire carefully planned budget.
It requires overriding your instinct to take out small amounts, but it is mathematically essential.
So we've navigated the chaotic physics of the local highways, and we've bypassed the predatory math of the APMs. This flows naturally into the broader question of personal security. What is the actual safety picture for a traveler navigating this region?
The baseline assessment in the data is incredibly reassuring. From a statistical standpoint, Chiang Rai is one of the safest cities in Southeast Asia for an international traveler. Violent crime targeting tourists is virtually non-existent.
It's actually funny to look at the hierarchy of risks in this briefing. The number 1 risk to your life is traffic, those scooter accidents we just covered. The number 2 risk is petty theft. Things like pickpockets operating in the dense crowds of the weekend night bazaar. And the fix for that is literally just moving your smartphone from your back pocket to your front pocket. But then the data introduces a geopolitical element that requires a totally different kind of logistical navigation, the Myanmar border.
Yes, the extreme northern edge of Chiang Rai province physically borders Myanmar at a crossing called Mai Sai, which connects via a bridge to the Myanmar town of Takulek.
Now, I want to be clear here. The briefing doesn't take sides or delve into the complex politics of what is happening in Myanmar. It approaches this strictly from a traveler logistics perspective. Why is this border crossing even mentioned as a risk?
Because under normal, peaceful circumstances, this border is a popular, highly porous day trip destination. Tourists pay a $10 fee for a temporary border pass, they walk across the bridge into Myanmar, they shop in the massive border markets in Takulek, and they walk back to Thailand for dinner.
Sounds like a fun afternoon.
It used to be. However, the data highlights that due to the ongoing civil conflict within Myanmar in 2026, the logistical reality of that border is incredibly fluid.
Fluid meaning the Thai authorities will just shut it down.
Exactly. The Thai military and border police manage the security situation day by day. If there is unrest or instability on the Myanmar side, Thai authorities will instantly, and without any public warning, close the checkpoint or severely restrict international crossings.
So the risk isn't necessarily that you'll be caught in a war zone. The risk is that you'll hire a driver, drive an hour north, and find a locked gate.
Precisely. The takeaway for the traveler is that you cannot treat the Mae Sai crossing like a static tourist attraction, like a museum with fixed opening hours.
You have to do your homework.
The briefing explicitly advises that you must check the travel advisories from the UK Foreign Office or the US State Department on the specific morning you plan to travel there. If the border is closed, or if an advisory is active, you simply pivot. You change your itinerary and go visit a mountain tea plantation instead. It requires logistical flexibility.
That makes perfect sense. On a much lighter note regarding safety, the data for solo female travelers is glowing. It points out that the hospitality culture in northern Thailand is significantly less aggressive and less male-dominated than in the heavy beach party destinations down south, like Pattaya or Phuket.
Much different vibe.
The guest house staff are highly attentive. The night bazaar is well-lit and intensely family-oriented, and solo women consistently report feeling much less harassed here. And for families traveling with children, the main safety issue flagged in the brief isn't crime or borders, it's the sun.
The sun, yes.
The primary safety advice is simply heat management. Execute all your temple visits before 10 a.m. or after 3 p.m.
Heat exhaustion will ruin a family trip far faster than any other local hazard.
Right, so you're safe, your budget is intact, you didn't crash a scooter, and you avoided the midday heat. What are you actually looking at when you go out? This is where the source material gets wonderfully, brutally honest. It separates the genuine cultural highlights from the heavily marketed disappointments.
It refuses to pretend that every single site is a life-changing hidden gem, which is a rare level of candor in travel data.
Let's start with the absolute best investments of your time. We've talked extensively about the White Temple, Wat Rong Khun, but visually, what is it? You go at 8 a.m., you pay your 6:30, and you walk into this surreal, blindingly white complex that is completely embedded with tiny mirror mosaics that catch the morning sun. It was designed by the Thai artist Chalermchai Kositpipad.
And it is crucial to understand that it is an ongoing, lifelong, personal project for him. It is not an ancient ruin. It is a living, contemporary art installation deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy, but infused with modern pop culture references in its murals.
The brief also highlights the Blue Temple, Wat Rong Soya Tent. It's entirely free to enter. It features these incredibly rich royal blue and gold interior murals, a massive luminous white Buddha, and because it's slightly off the main commercial day trip circuit, you don't have to fight through a wall of tour buses to see it.
Both of these structures demonstrate that Northern Thai architectural artistry is not frozen in the past, it is actively evolving.
Beyond the temples, the brief praises the Golden Triangle viewpoint at Sap Ruak, where you can stand on a hill in Thailand and look directly across the convergence of the Mekong River at Laos on one side and Myanmar on the other.
It's quite a view.
It highly recommends the Hall of Opium Museum for $3.80, calling it one of the most comprehensive historical exhibits in Southeast Asia. It pushes the Doi Tung mountain tea plantations for a cool, quiet afternoon off the tourist trail for just $6. And of course, it constantly comes back to the night bazaar feast.
Oh, absolutely. Pulling up a plastic chair at the communal tables, ordering 3 different regional dishes, opening a cold beer for $8 total, and just watching the local society interact. It is the purest distillation of slow travel.
But then we get to the disappointments, and I really appreciate this section, because sometimes famous places just suck. The brief specifically calls out the Golden Triangle Tourist Zone itself. It says the physical geographical spot where the rivers meet is beautiful, but the 500-meter zone surrounding it is a chaotic commercial mess. It's filled with aggressive tuk-tuk touts, vendors selling overpriced fake jade, and there is literally a massive, incongruous casino sitting right across the river on the Laoso side.
Yeah.
You go to this historically significant tri-border point, and it's just a place to get hustled.
It is the inevitable tragic life cycle of a geographically significant point. Once a spot becomes famous purely for where it is rather than what it is, aggressive commercialization rushes in to extract money from the foot traffic.
It just ruins the magic.
The actual geography remains stunning, but the infrastructure built to monetize that geography is exhausting.
The other major disappointment the brief dissects is the Black House Museum, or Bain Dam.
Yeah.
The entry fee is negligible, just $1.60. It's a sprawling collection of dark teak wood buildings filled with animal skulls, skins, and heavy carvings by the late artist Thewan Duchesne. The brief says it's interesting rather than extraordinary, but it specifically attacks the narrative surrounding it. It says it is vastly overhyped by tour operators as Chiang Rai's dark, evil answer to the White Temple. Why does travel media force this bizarre light versus dark comic book narrative?
Because the travel industry constantly creates synthetic narratives to sell digestible packages to consumers. The White Temple and the Black House were created by two entirely different artists with different artistic philosophies operating on different timelines. They were never conceived or built as a binary heaven and hell pairing.
Interesting.
But for a tour operator in Chiang Mai trying to sell a $70 full-day itinerary, the Temple of Light and the House of Darkness is a fantastic, easily understood marketing hook.
It sounds like a movie trailer.
Exactly. It creates a neat story. The problem is when a traveler arrives at the Black House expecting a profound, gothic, terrifying counterpart to the gleaming White Temple, they are met with a rather eccentric, quiet collection of wood architecture and animal bones.
So they feel let down.
The disappointment the traveler feels isn't actually the fault of the museum or the artist. It is the fault of the artificially inflated expectations created by lazy marketing.
That is such a crucial distinction. You aren't disappointed by the art, you are disappointed that reality didn't match the brochure. The final disappointment the brief notes is simply about the city's energy. It warns that the city center at midday can be intensely dull.
Very quiet.
If you're looking for the vibrant, bustling, digital nomad coffee shop, scene like Nimen Road in Chiang Mai, you will not find it here. The midday heat pushes everyone inside, and the city practically sleeps until 5 p.m. So if a sleepy midday and a slow pace isn't what you're looking for, what are your options? The data anticipates this and provides two massive alternatives.
It provides two distinct escape valves, serving two completely different travel philosophies.
Alternative one is the obvious pivot. Just go to Chiang Mai, it's 3 hours south, but a daily budget immediately jumps. You go from $25 a day up to $35 to $90 a day. In exchange for that money, you get dense infrastructure. You get world-class co-working spaces, dozens of Muay Thai gyms, endless cooking classes, and a massive expat community. But it is 30 to 40% more expensive and significantly more crowded.
Chiang Mai is the immediate solution if you find Chiang Rai simply too quiet. If you are a traveler who needs the city to organize your entertainment for you, if you want an endless menu of organized classes, group tours, and social events, Chiang Mai provides that industrial-scale infrastructure flawlessly.
But you pay for it.
But you pay a premium for that convenience, both in hard currency and in having to share the space with thousands of others. Chiang Rai demands that you entertain yourself. Chiang Mai will entertain you.
And then we have alternative two, which feels like a completely different paradigm. If you love the slow pace of Chiang Rai but want to change of scenery, the brief points you to Luang Prabang over in Laos. The budget is slightly higher, $35 to $65 a day. It describes it as a philosophical match. It's a UNESCO-listed town sitting right on the Mekong River, filled with French colonial architecture and an intensely slow travel energy. But it's how you get there that is the real story.
The journey itself.
You can fly, but the brief highlights the legendary 2-day Mekong slow boat. You cross the border at Shangkong, and you take a boat down the river for 2 days for about $60 to $80 all in. I mean, 2 days on a boat, sitting on wooden benches. Feel like I'd lose my mind. Frame this for us.
The slow boat is the ultimate anti-airplane travel maneuver. Modern air travel treats the journey as an irritating obstacle to be overcome as quickly and efficiently as possible. You are sealed in a tube staring at a screen.
All right, just get me there.
The Mekong slow boat subverts that entirely. It treats the journey as the destination itself. You are committing 48 hours to simply drifting down a massive, muddy, vital river system. You watch rural Southeast Asia pass by at 10 miles an hour. You stop overnight in a tiny village called Pakbang. There is no Wi-Fi. There are no screens to distract you.
It forces a complete mental deceleration. You
Okay.
literally cannot rush it.
Exactly. If Chiang Rai teaches you how to begin slowing down, the slow boat to Luang Prabang is the masterclass in forced decompression.
We've looked at the hard data, we've dissected the logistical traps, we've explored the alternatives. It's time to run all of this through the final verdict matrix for every type of traveler. Let's rapid fire through the final conclusions from the briefing.
The overarching conclusion is highly dependent on a traveler's self-awareness and what they are actually seeking.
First, the backpacker. The verdict is a definitive, strong yes. The brief calls it the single best value overnight destination in Thailand at $22 to $30 a day. It explicitly states that skipping it just because someone in a hostel told you a day trip was enough is a fundamental mistake.
Agreed.
Next, the mid-range traveler. The verdict is yes with caveats, excellent value at $55 to $75, but you have to expect a self-directed pace. There aren't rows of romantic, highly produced, boutique rooftop bars.
You are intentionally trading luxury amenities and manufactured nightlife for authenticity and quiet.
Then the family. The verdict is yes, exceptional value at $120 to $170 a day. The bizarre architecture of the temples actually engages kids. But the caveat is an absolute rule. You must rent a private driver for $25 to $30 to bridge the transport gaps. Otherwise, the sheer logistics of moving 4 people around the province will ruin the trip.
100%.
Next, the luxury traveler. This is a conditional yes. If you specifically want that unique, highly isolated Anatara triple border experience with elephants for $320 to $400, yes. But if you just want to sit in a mega resort spa and look at a private beach, this is the wrong region. Go to Phuket.
Right.
And finally, the digital nomad. Conditional yes, but strictly for 1 to 2 months maximum. It's an incredible $900 to $1,300 retreat for deep, isolated work. But the lack of a networking community will eventually force you to leave.
When you synthesize this entire matrix, the core theme is intention. Chiang Rai is a destination that requires active participation. It does not hand you a pre-packaged, frictionless vacation on a silver platter.
You have to work a little for it.
You have to figure out the Songthae routes. You have to navigate the cash-only economy. You have to exercise the discipline to wake up early to beat the buses. But in exchange for that minimal effort, it rewards you with genuine economic value and uncrowded beauty. It is the ultimate antidote to passive tourism.
It sounds like Chiang Rai is basically a mirror. It reflects exactly what you bring to it. It absolutely rewards the traveler who knows what they want, whether that's an empty temple at 8 a.m., a $1.50 bowl of noodles, or a quiet month to write a book. But it will actively punish the traveler who just shows up expecting to be mindlessly entertained by a slick tourist machine.
Very true.
But, looking at all these numbers, especially that detail back at the beginning about the White Temple fee doubling in early 2026, a really provocative paradox emerges here.
The paradox of discovery.
Exactly. We're talking about digital nomads looking for cheaper Chiang Mais and backpackers hunting for the last great budget oasis. But how long can a slow travel oasis actually remain slow once everyone finds out exactly how cheap the oasis is?
It's the ultimate question.
Will the very act of travelers seeking out this uncommercialized authenticity inevitably lead to its commercialization? It makes you wonder if you shouldn't book your ticket right now, before that cool 1,300-foot altitude air gets just a little too crowded with vans from Chiang Mai.
The window of immense value is currently open, but the economic indicators suggest it is slowly beginning to close.
Something to seriously mull over as you plan your next move in Southeast Asia. That's our deep dive for today. See you next time.